Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. A poor girl helps the daughter of a millionaire CEO eat again, and what he did next surprised everyone. "Yakisoba with cheese, the best in town," Stella shouted as she waved a colorful sign. At 23, she knew that being embarrassed didn't pay the bills. After 8 hours of work, she had $15 in her tip jar. And rent was due the next day. Special yakisoba with melted cheese, only $8. That's when she saw a man walking down the sidewalk. James was carrying a little girl in his arms. His suit was expensive, but his face showed total desperation. The child in his arms looked like a doll about to break. "Please, Emma, you need to eat something," James begged, stopping right in front of Stella's cart. "It's been 10 days, sweetheart. The doctors don't know what else to do." Emma was only 5 years old. Her blonde hair was dull, her blue eyes lifeless. She was way too thin. "I don't want to, Daddy," she whispered weakly. "Nothing tastes good." Hearing that, Stella jumped down from the box she was standing on to promote her food. The heartbreaking scene moved her deeply. "What happened to her?" Stella asked, walking closer. "My daughter hasn't eaten in 10 days. I've tried the best doctors, the best restaurants. Nothing works. She's dying in front of me." Stella knelt down to Emma's level. "Hi, Princess. Want to see some magic? I make yakisoba with special powers." "Special powers?" Emma whispered, curious for the first time in days. "Yes, my yakisoba makes all sadness go away. Want to see?" Stella turned on the heat and tossed noodles onto the hot grill. The sizzle caught Emma's attention right away. "First, the special noodles," Stella said, stirring the grill, then the most important ingredient, love. She made a motion like she was sprinkling invisible glitter over the noodles. Emma's eyes widened. She had never seen anyone cook with that much care. Stella chopped onions and peppers, tossing them on the grill with flair. She poured a dark sauce that made the most wonderful sizzling sound. The smell was indescribable, sweet, salty, just perfect. "And now, the magic cheese," Stella announced. She sprinkled cheddar cheese, which melted into golden strings. She served it all on a plate and handed it to Emma. "Special yakisoba, made with love, just for you." Emma took the fork with her tiny, trembling hands and had her first bite. Her eyes lit up. "Daddy," she cried, smiling for the first time in weeks. "This is really good." James couldn't believe it. His daughter, who had refused all food for 10 days, was now eating with real appetite. Emma finished the whole plate and asked for more. Stella made another, and Emma ate every bit. Color returned to her cheeks. She looked like a normal little girl again. "How did you do that?" James asked, moved. "Children can tell when food is made with true love," Stella said. "They feel the difference." "Thank you for getting my daughter to eat," James said. He paid, then left a $50 tip. Stella was stunned. As James helped Emma down to walk, she whispered something that made him freeze. "Daddy, she cooks just like Mommy used to," before she left. James's face turned pale, his eyes filled with panic, like Emma had just shared a terrible secret. He grabbed Emma's hand and walked away, leaving Stella standing there with the strange feeling that her life had just changed forever. The next morning, Stella woke up at 5 with her stomach growling. The $50 tip had gone straight to her overdue rent. She had just $2 left to buy ingredients, but she couldn't stop thinking about that man in the expensive suit and the thin little girl. "She cooks just like Mommy used to." Emma's words echoed in her mind. "Fresh yakisoba, the best in town," Stella shouted, pushing her cart to the same spot as the day before. It was just 7:00 the morning when she saw James walking toward her. Emma was beside him, but she dragged her feet with no energy. "Miss." James waved desperately. "I'm so glad you're here again." "Of course I am," Stella smiled. "Emma, Princess, how are you today?" "Hungry," Emma mumbled. "Daddy tried to give me cereal for breakfast, but I couldn't eat it. I just wanted your noodles." Stella looked at James. He looked like he hadn't slept. Red eyes, messy hair, wrinkled suit. "Haven't eaten anything since yesterday," James explained. She refused everything I offered. All she talked about was coming here. Well then, let's make some more magic. Yakisoba, Stella said, turning on the heat. As she cooked, Stella watched James. He wore a watch worth more than her rent for a whole year. His shoes were expensive, Italian leather. Yet here he was, on a dirty sidewalk, begging a street food vendor to save his daughter. "What kind of work do you do?" Stella asked as she stirred the noodles. "I own a tech company," James replied. "Sterling Enterprises. You've probably heard of it." Stella almost dropped the spatula. Everyone had heard of Sterling Enterprises, one of the biggest companies in the country. You're James Sterling, the billionaire." "Millionaire," James corrected. "And what good is all that money if I can't get my daughter to eat?" Emma finished another full plate. She smiled, played, and looked like a normal little girl again. James watched each bite with tears in his eyes. "Miss," James said once Emma finished, "I need to make you an offer." Stella wiped her hands on her apron. "What kind of offer?" "Be my private cook. Come live in my house and cook for Emma." "What?" Stella laughed nervously. "I sell food on the street." "And you make the best food my daughter's ever had," James replied. "I'll pay you $50,000 a month." Stella gasped. $50,000 per month. Room, board, and all expenses covered. You just need to cook for Emma and care for her when I'm working. Stella thought of her sick mother at home, the expensive medicine she couldn't afford, the rent that was always late, the days without proper meals. "Why me?" Stella asked. "You could hire any famous chef in the world." James looked at Emma, who was playing with the last bits of yakisoba. "Because," he said softly, "you're the only person who can get my daughter to eat. And that's priceless. Say yes, and all your problems end today." Emma ran over and hugged Stella's leg. "Come live with us, please." Stella's heart melted. How could she say no to that sweet child? "All right," she whispered. "I accept." James let out a sigh of relief. "Great. Can you start today? Today? Emma needs lunch in 2 hours, and I have an important meeting I can't miss." Stella looked at her humble food cart, then at the luxury car, then at Emma's smiling face. "All right, let's go." The mansion was even more impressive than Stella had imagined. Electric gate, huge garden, Olympic-sized pool. The house had 3 floors and looked like a castle. "Wow," Stella murmured. "Aunt Stella, come see my room." Emma grabbed Stella's hand and pulled her upstairs. Emma's room was the size of Stella's entire apartment, a princess bed, expensive toys everywhere, a closet full of dresses. But Stella noticed something odd. No pictures of a woman anywhere in the house, no feminine touch. It felt like only men lived there. "Emma, where are the pictures of your mommy?" Emma was quiet for a moment. "Daddy put them all away." "Why?" "He said it hurts too much to look at them." That afternoon, Stella made a special lunch for Emma. The girl ate everything and even asked for dessert. "You really are magic," Emma laughed. That evening, when James got back from work, he found Emma happily playing in the living room. "She ate?" he asked anxiously. 3 full meals," Stella answered proudly. James closed his eyes with relief. "I don't know how to thank you." Later, after Emma was asleep, James gave Stella a tour of the house. "This is the main kitchen. This is the pantry. Here are the special dishes." They reached a hallway on the 2nd floor. James stopped in front of a white door. "Never open this door," he said seriously. "Why not? It's a baby's room. Too painful for me." Stella frowned. "A baby's room? But Emma's already 5. What happened to Emma's mom anyway?" Stella asked directly. James froze, his face tensed up, almost angry. "She died giving birth to Emma." "I don't like to talk about it." But Stella was sure he was lying. Emma had said Stella cooked just like Mommy used to. How could a 5-year-old remember her mother's cooking if she died during childbirth? That night, Stella lay awake, thinking, what terrible secret was James hiding? 3 weeks had passed since Stella started working at the Sterling mansion. Emma was a different child. She had gained weight, her cheeks were rosy, and she smiled all the time. "Aunt Stella, let's play house." Emma ran around the house every morning, looking for Stella. Stella had completely fallen in love with the girl. She woke up early to make special breakfasts, came up with new games, and told bedtime stories. Emma followed her around the house like a sweet little puppy. "Will you be my heart, Mom?" Emma asked one afternoon while Stella was brushing her blonde hair. Stella's heart tightened. "I'm your special friend, Princess." "But you take care of me like a mommy would," Emma insisted. "You cook yummy food, give me baths, tell me stories, just like my mommy did." There was that phrase again. Stella pretended to focus on brushing her hair. "What was your mommy like, Emma?" "She was beautiful and always smelled nice. She used to sing me to sleep and made pancakes on Sundays." Emma sighed. But one day, she left and never came back. Stella stopped brushing her hair. "She left? I thought she had died. Dad said she died, but I remember her leaving with suitcases." Stella felt a chill run through her. Emma remembered her mother leaving, alive. That night, Stella went downstairs to get a glass of water and heard soft sobs coming from James's office. She walked quietly toward the slightly open door. James was sitting at his desk, his head in his hands, crying softly. In front of him was a photo of a beautiful blonde woman holding baby Emma. "Vanessa, why did you do this to me?" James whispered. "Why did you leave our daughter?" Stella stepped away in silence, her heart racing. Emma's mother was named Vanessa, and she was alive. James had lied about everything. The next day, Emma drew a picture of her dream family, a man, a woman, and a smiling child. "This is my perfect family," Emma said, showing the drawing to Stella. "That's Daddy, that's you being my mommy, and that's me." James walked through the room just then, saw the drawing, and his face turned pale. He quickly walked out. "Why did Daddy look sad?" Emma asked, confused. "I don't know, sweetheart," Stella lied, but she knew exactly why. James was hiding something painful about Emma's past, and Stella was determined to find out the truth. That afternoon, while Emma was napping, Stella decided to ask him directly, "James, I need to know more about Emma's mother." James was reading some papers in the living room when he heard the question. His whole body tensed. "Why are you so obsessed with this?" he asked coldly. "Because Emma says things that don't match your story," Stella answered firmly. "She remembers her mother cooking, singing, being alive. She was very young. Her memories are confused." "Children over 3 can have clear memories," Stella said. "And Emma remembers her mother leaving with suitcases, not dying." James stood up suddenly. "Stop it. I won't talk about this anymore." "Why not? If she really died, why is it so hard to talk about?" James stared at her angrily. "Because it hurts too much. I lost my wife, and I don't want to relive it." But Stella saw something in his eyes: guilt, shame, fear. Not the sadness of a grieving husband. That night, Stella couldn't sleep. She got up and walked through the quiet house, thinking about all the things that didn't make sense. She reached the hallway on the second floor and stopped in front of the forbidden door. "Baby's room," she whispered, remembering what James had called it. She looked around to make sure she was alone. James slept downstairs, Emma on the 3rd floor. No one would see her. Curiosity burning inside her, Stella knelt down and peeked through the keyhole. What she saw took her breath away. It wasn't a baby's room like James had said. It was a grown woman's room with a king-sized bed covered in clothes, elegant dresses, silk blouses, business pants thrown everywhere. It looked like someone had left in a rush. Stella blinked several times, trying to make sense of it. Why would James lie about what was in that room? And whose clothes were those? She backed away from the door, heart pounding, more confused than ever. The next morning, Stella got up early as usual to make breakfast for Emma, but she couldn't stop thinking about what she saw. The scattered clothes, the strange feeling that something important was being kept from her. "Good morning, Aunt Stella." Emma skipped into the kitchen, snapping Stella out of her thoughts. "Good morning, Princess. Did you sleep well?" "I did. I dreamed we were a real family. You, me, and Daddy." Stella forced a smile as she served the fresh pancakes. Emma's innocence clashed with the dark secrets that seemed to fill that house. "Emma, can I ask you something?" "Sure." Stella hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Do you remember anything else about your mommy?" Emma stopped chewing and thought for a moment. A little. She smelled nice and sang pretty songs. Anything more? She liked pretty clothes. She had lots of colorful dresses. Emma sighed. But Daddy doesn't like it when I talk about her. Before Stella could ask more, James came into the kitchen, perfectly dressed for work in a suit. Good morning, girls. Good morning, Daddy. Emma ran to hug him. Stella watched James closely. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and a worried look that never seemed to go away. James, Stella said casually as she cleaned the sink, last night, I walked down the second-floor hallway, and James cut her off right away, his voice tense. And what? Nothing big. I just wondered why you keep that room locked. James dropped his fork, and it clattered against the plate. Emma looked at her father with curiosity. I've explained. It's a baby's room. Too painful for me. I see, Stella said, but her tone made it clear she didn't really understand. James finished his coffee quickly and left for work, leaving an uncomfortable silence behind. All that morning, while looking after Emma, Stella couldn't stop thinking about what she had seen. Women's clothes scattered around didn't match the story of a baby's room. Why was James lying? Aunt Stella, want to play hide-and-seek? Emma asked after lunch. Of course, Princess. They ran around the huge house, laughing and having fun. Emma hid behind the living room curtains, then under the kitchen table. Then it was her turn to find Stella. Stella went upstairs, looking for a good hiding spot. She passed the second-floor hallway and stopped right in front of the white door. I'm coming, Emma called from downstairs. Stella stared at the forbidden door. Curiosity was stronger than caution. She knelt down again and looked through the keyhole. The clothes were still there, scattered, just like the night before. But this time, with daylight coming through the window, she could see more details. They were expensive clothes. She could recognize designer labels even from a distance. High heels were lying on the floor. A hairbrush with blonde strands sat on the vanity. Expensive perfume sparkled in the sunlight. Who had lived in that room? And why did James keep it locked like some kind of forbidden shrine? Found you. Emma ran into the hallway. Stella stood up quickly, trying to hide what she'd been doing. You got me, smarty pants. What were you doing there? Emma asked, looking at the door. Oh, nothing, just thinking. Emma suddenly looked serious. Daddy doesn't like people near that door. Why not? I don't know. He gets mad. One time, the cleaning lady got close, and he yelled at her. Stella felt a kill. What kind of secret could make someone react like that? The rest of the day went by as usual. Emma played, ate well, took a bath, and listened to bedtime stories. But Stella couldn't relax, still bothered by the mystery of that room. When James came home from work that night, Stella was waiting in the living room. How was your day? He asked as he loosened his tie. Quiet. Emma ate well, and we played a lot. James smiled genuinely for the first time in days. I don't know how to thank you. Stella, Emma has completely changed since you arrived. She's a wonderful child. She's the most important thing I have in this world. Stella saw an opportunity to ask, James, can I ask you another question about her mother? His expression changed immediately. What do you want to know? What was she like? Emma asks sometimes, and I don't know what to say. James stayed silent for a long moment, staring off into space. She was complicated, he finally said. Beautiful, but complicated. Complicated how? She liked expensive things, clothes, jewelry, trips. She was never satisfied with what she had. Stella felt a twinge of recognition, expensive clothes scattered in that locked room. It must be hard for Emma to grow up without her mother. That's why you being here matters so much, James said, looking straight into her eyes. You fill a space I could never fill on my own. Stella's heart beat faster under his intense gaze. James, I know it's too soon to say this. He stepped closer, but you're not just the cook here. You've become part of our family. Stella felt butterflies in her stomach. The closeness, his scent, the honesty in his voice, everything made her feel drawn to him. But the lies about the locked room created an invisible wall between them. I need to know the truth about that room, Stella said suddenly. James stepped back like she had slapped him. Why do you keep bringing that up? Because I feel like you're hiding something important, and if we're going to be a family, there can't be secrets between us. James ran his hands through his hair, clearly upset. Some secrets exist to protect the people we love. Protect them from what? From the truth that might hurt them. Stella stepped closer. I'm stronger than you think. James looked her in the eyes for a long moment. He seemed to be fighting an internal battle between telling the truth or keeping the lie. Not today, he finally said. Maybe one day I'll have the courage to tell you, but not today. He went up the stairs, leaving Stella alone in the room, more confused and intrigued than ever. That night, Stella stayed awake, thinking about everything the clothes scattered around, James's lies, the growing attraction between them, and, most of all, the feeling that something important was being kept from her. What was James hiding in that room, and why was he so afraid to tell the truth? In the days that followed, Stella's curiosity about James and Emma's past only grew stronger. She couldn't stop thinking about the scattered clothes in the off-limits room, and James's obvious lies were making her more and more uneasy. One sunny afternoon, while Emma was playing in the garden, Stella decided to take a closer look around the house. She already knew all the main rooms but had never really explored James's office. "Aunt Stella, I'm going to play with my dolls," Emma shouted, running to her room. "All right, sweetheart. Call me if you need anything." Taking advantage of Emma being busy, Stella walked to the office. The door was slightly open, like it always was during the day. She entered slowly, looking at every detail. The walls were decorated with James's business diplomas and certificates. There was a large dark wooden desk and shelves full of books about business. But what caught her attention were the picture frames on the desk. Stella walked over, curious. There were several photos of James at business events and others of him with Emma at different ages. But in the back of the desk, partly hidden behind some objects, there was a frame turned face down. She glanced toward the door to make sure she was alone, then carefully turned the frame over. The photo showed a younger James, smiling genuinely, next to a stunning blonde woman. She was wearing an elegant dress and holding a small child in her arms, Emma, who looked about 2 years old. Stella's heart raced. Emma was 2 in that photo. That meant her mother was alive at least until Emma turned 2, completely contradicting James's story about her dying during childbirth. Stella picked up the frame with trembling hands, studying every detail of the picture. Emma looked happy in the arms of the blonde woman, who had striking blue eyes and a confident expression. James stood beside them, but his smile seemed forced, as if something was bothering him. She put the frame back where it was and continued looking around carefully. She opened the desk drawers gently, searching for more clues. In the middle drawer, she found more loose photographs. She took a few and looked through them quickly. All of them showed the same blonde woman with Emma at different ages, Emma as a baby, Emma at 1 year old, and Emma at 2, playing in the mansion's garden. In one photo, the woman was cooking in the kitchen with Emma sitting on the counter, watching. Emma looked happy and relaxed, as if it were a normal part of their lives. That's why Emma remembers the taste of her mother's cooking, Stella whispered to herself. She quickly put the photos away and closed the drawer. Her mind was racing with what she had discovered. James had clearly lied about his wife dying in childbirth. Emma's mother had been alive when she was at least 2 years old. So what had really happened to her? Why would James make up such an elaborate lie, and where was that woman now? Stella left the office with more questions than answers. The rest of the afternoon, while taking care of Emma, she looked at the little girl with fresh eyes. "Emma, do you remember when you were very little?" she asked, while brushing the girl's hair. "A little bit. I remember a lady who used to live here and made yummy food like you. What did she look like? She had yellow hair and smelled nice. She used to sing me to sleep." Emma paused to think. But one day, she left and never came back. Stella felt a chill. Emma really did remember her mother. "Do you miss her?" "I used to, but now I have you." Emma hugged Stella tightly. "You're better than her because you'll never go away, right?" Stella's heart tightened. "Of course, I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart." That night, when James came home from work, Stella watched him with growing suspicion. He greeted Emma warmly, had dinner with them, helped put the little girl to bed. He seemed like a loving, devoted father. But why lie so much about the past? After Emma was asleep, James settled in the living room to read some work documents. Stella walked over with a cup of tea. "Thank you," he said as he accepted the drink. "You always know how to take good care of us." "It's my job," Stella replied, but her voice sounded colder than usual. James looked at her closely. "Is everything all right? You seem different today." Stella hesitated. Part of her wanted to confront him about the photos, but something held her back. "I'm just tired. You work too much. Maybe you should take a day off." "No need. I like taking care of Emma." James gave a gentle smile. "She loves you. I've never seen my daughter so happy and healthy. She's a special girl. She really is. She's the most important thing I have in the world." James paused. "And you've become very important to us too, Stella." Stella felt butterflies in her stomach, but her doubts about his lies created an invisible wall between them. "James, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why don't you ever talk about the past? About how your life was before?" James tensed up right away. "I'd rather not remember painful times. But sometimes talking helps you heal." "Not always." James stood up suddenly. "I'm going to work a bit more in the office." He left the room, leaving Stella alone with her suspicions. She knew she had only uncovered the tip of the iceberg. James was hiding much bigger secrets about Emma's mother's disappearance, and Stella was determined to uncover the whole truth, no matter how much it might hurt her. The next morning, Stella woke up, still thinking about the photos she had found in the office. She went downstairs to prepare Emma's breakfast, but found James already in the kitchen, talking on the phone with a tense voice. "No, you don't understand how serious this is," James said, pacing back and forth. "If we don't find a solution, the company will go under in 30 days. Stella stopped at the kitchen entrance, not wanting to interrupt. James looked desperate, running his free hand through his messy hair. "What do you mean the investors are backing out? They signed contracts." James hit the counter with his fist. "Listen, if we lose this project, we all lose everything." "Everything?" Stella had never seen James so shaken. He always seemed so confident and in control. "I don't care if it's the weekend. I want everyone at the company in 2 hours. We have to find a solution before it's too late." James hung up and leaned on the counter, breathing heavily. That's when he noticed Stella standing in the doorway. "How long have you been there?" he asked, trying to hide his panic. "Just got here." "Is everything okay?" "Yes, just work problems," James lied. But Stella could see the fear in his eyes. At that moment, Emma came downstairs, cheerful as always. "Good morning, Daddy." "Good morning, Aunt Stella." James forced a smile for his daughter. "Good morning, Princess." During breakfast, Stella watched James carefully. He barely touched his food, kept checking his phone, and sighed deeply with every message he read. "Daddy, are you working today?" "It's Saturday," Emma said, biting into a piece of toast. "Unfortunately, yes, my love. Daddy has some important problems to solve." After Emma finished eating and went off to play, James got ready to leave. Stella walked him to the door. "James, if you need to talk about anything, I'm here." He looked at her with sincere gratitude. "Thank you, Stella. You have no idea how much your presence here means to me." After James left, Stella spent the day taking care of Emma, but she couldn't stop thinking about the phone call she had overheard. James's company was in serious financial trouble. That night, after Emma was asleep, James came home looking worn out. His clothes were wrinkled, and his eyes were red from exhaustion. "How was it?" Stella asked as she served him dinner. "Terrible," James admitted. "Absolutely terrible." Stella sat at the table with him. "Do you want to talk about it?" James hesitated, then let out a deep sigh. "The company is on the brink of bankruptcy. We have 30 days to find a solution, or we lose everything." "What happened?" "We invested heavily in a new tech project. We spent millions developing a revolutionary software." James rubbed his tired face. "But when we presented it to the investors, they backed out. They said the market wasn't ready." Stella frowned. "But if the software is really that innovative, wouldn't other investors be interested? It's more complicated than that. We have huge debts, employees to pay, contracts to honor." James pushed away his plate, barely touched. and now the banks are calling in the loans. Stella thought for a moment. During her accounting studies, she had learned about situations like this. Have you thought about restructuring the debt, maybe negotiating longer terms with the banks while you look for new investors? James looked at her, surprised. How do you know about that? Stella realized she had said too much. I heard about it somewhere. Stella, how does a cook know about business finances? She hesitated but then decided to tell the truth. I studied accounting in college. You did? Yes. I got a scholarship and made it all the way to the last semester. Stella looked down. But my mom got sick. She needed expensive medicine and constant care. I had to leave school to work and take care of her. James was silent for a long moment, trying to process what she had said. You almost graduated in accounting? I just had to present my final project and take the last exams. And why didn't you ever tell me this? Because it doesn't matter anymore. I don't have a diploma. I can't work in that field. Stella sighed sadly. All those years of studying were wasted. James stepped closer to her. Stella, your knowledge wasn't wasted. Do you still remember most of it? Most of it, yes. Why? Because maybe you can help me save my company. Stella looked at him in disbelief. James went to the office and came back with a folder full of documents. He spread the papers out on the kitchen table. Take a look at these numbers. Tell me what you see. Stella studied the documents carefully. Financial statements, cost spreadsheets, revenue projections. Slowly, her mind went back to her college days. Your operating costs are too high for your current returns, she said after a few minutes. But I see revenue potential that's not being explored. What do you mean? You have maintenance contracts with old clients that are paying very low fees. If you renegotiate those contracts with updated rates, revenue would increase by at least 40%. James leaned forward, interested. Go on. There's more. You're spending a fortune outsourcing services that your current staff could handle internally. Stella pointed to specific numbers. If you reorganize those roles, you could save thousands each month. My goodness, James muttered. Why didn't my accountants think of that? Sometimes, when you're too close to the problem, it's hard to see the obvious solutions. James spent 2 hours going over Stella's suggestions. With each idea, he was more and more impressed by her intelligence and business insight. Stella, these ideas are brilliant. If we put all this in place, the company could not only survive but actually make a solid profit in just a few months. Stella smiled. James looked at her with deep admiration. You just saved my company. Not yet. These are just suggestions. They're much more than that. James took her hands. They're the solution I've been desperately looking for. The following Sunday, James called his executive team and presented all of Stella's ideas. At first, there was resistance after all. The suggestions came from a cook. But once James explained the logic behind each proposal, everyone was convinced. By Monday, they began putting the changes into action. They renegotiated old contracts, reorganized departments, and cut unnecessary expenses. Within a week, the results were already visible. Stella, you won't believe it, James said as he walked into the house that Friday with a big smile she hadn't seen in weeks. What happened? We closed 3 new contracts today. They're going to bring in $2 million in profit over the next 6 months. Emma came running in. Why is Daddy so happy? Because Aunt Stella saved Daddy's company, James said as he picked Emma up and spun her around. Aunt Stella is the smartest person in the world, Emma shouted, laughing. James looked at Stella with an expression full of gratitude, admiration, and something even deeper. She really is, he said softly. The most special person I've ever met. Stella felt her heart race. Despite all the lies about the past, she couldn't deny she was falling for James. And for the first time, she saw in his eyes that he felt the same. 3 days after the success with the new contracts, James got home earlier than usual. He found Stella in the kitchen making dinner while Emma worked on her homework at the table. Stella, I need to talk to you, James said with a serious but hopeful look. Of course. Did something happen at the company? Actually, yes, something really good. James stepped closer. The results from your suggestions went beyond all expectations. Not only did we save the company, but we're having the best quarter in the last 5 years. Stella smiled proudly. I'm glad it worked out. That's why I want to make you an offer. What kind of offer? James took a deep breath. I want you to work at my company as our official accountant. Stella almost dropped the pan she was stirring. What do you mean? You have an incredible talent for finance. It would be a waste to keep that knowledge hidden here at home. James, I can't work as an accountant. I don't have a degree. That doesn't matter. Your practical knowledge is worth more than any certificate. James stepped even closer. Of course, officially, you can't sign off on documents like a certified accountant, but you could work as my personal financial assistant. No one has to know you didn't finish college. Stella was tempted, but quickly thought about her biggest responsibility. And what about Emma? Who's going to cook for her? We can hire a cook, and you can train her to make food just the way Emma likes it. You think that will work? I'm sure of it. Emma just needs time to get used to someone new. Stella hesitated. The chance to go back to her field of study was tempting. But taking care of Emma had become her top priority. How much would you pay? $100,000 a year, plus benefits. Stella gasped. $100,000. You saved a $20 million company. That salary is the least you deserve. It was an amount that would completely change Stella's life. She could pay for all of her mother's treatments, clear all her debts, and finally have financial security. All right, she said at last. I'll do it. James lit up with a smile. Really? Really. But only if we find a cook Emma truly likes. Leave that to me. The next day, James brought in 3 candidates for the cook position. The first was an experienced woman named Helen, who had worked in top restaurants. The second was Clara, a young culinary school graduate. The third was Evelyn, a middle-aged woman with a focus on cooking for children. Stella spent the whole morning teaching each of them how to prepare Emma's favorite meals, special yakisoba, heart-shaped pancakes, and sandwiches cut into fun shapes. The secret is care. Stella explained to Helen. Emma can tell when the food is made with love. When Emma came home from school, she tried each cook's food. She tasted everything politely, but Stella could see she wasn't excited about any of them. Which one did you like best, sweetheart? Stella asked. Emma looked at the 3 women, then back at Stella. The food was good, but what? It didn't taste like yours, Aunt Stella. James sighed. Emma, you need to give them a chance. I tried, Daddy, but I couldn't finish my food. Stella chose Helen, who seemed the most patient and kind of the 3. She spent the next few days teaching her all the secrets to cooking for Emma. She likes when the vegetables are cut in fun shapes, Stella explained, and always add a little love to every dish. Helen laughed. How do you put love in food? By thinking about how you want the person to feel happy while you cook. During Stella's first week at the company, Helen was in charge of all Emma's meals, but things didn't go well. Emma ate just a few bites of lunch and refused dinner completely. On the second day, she barely touched her breakfast. Daddy, where's Aunt Stella? Emma asked, pushing her plate away. She's at work, sweetheart. Helen made this meal with lots of care, but it doesn't taste the same. On the third day, Emma hardly ate anything. James called Stella at the office, clearly worried. She's refusing to eat again. I'm afraid she'll go back to how she was before. Stella's heart sank. I'm coming home now. When she got home, she found Emma pale and low on energy, just like when they first met. Aunt Stella. Emma ran to hug her. I missed you so much. I missed you too, sweetheart. Want me to make your favorite dinner? Yes, please. Stella made the special yakisoba with love and care. Emma ate every bite and smiled for the first time in days. Now that's more like it, Emma said, satisfied. That night, after Emma went to bed, James and Stella talked about the situation. I can't let Emma go hungry, Stella said, worried. But I also can't lose your talent at the company. Stella thought for a moment. What if I do both? How? I'll get up at 5:00 the morning, prepare all of Emma's meals for the day, and leave everything ready. Then I'll go to work like normal. James frowned. Isn't that too much for you? Emma is my priority. If it means getting up earlier, I'm okay with that. Are you sure? I'm sure I can handle both responsibilities. Starting the next day, Stella set a new routine. She woke up at 5:00 the morning and carefully prepared breakfast, lunch, and snacks for Emma. She left everything ready so Helen only had to warm it up and serve it at the right times. Then she headed to the company, where she impressed James and the whole team with her intelligence and dedication. She came back home in the late afternoon to personally make Emma's dinner. It was tiring, but seeing Emma happy and well-fed, while also fulfilling her professional dream, made it all worth it. "You're amazing," James said one evening, watching Stella play with Emma after dinner. "Why? Because you managed to do everything perfectly." Stella smiled, feeling like she was finally exactly where she was meant to be. 2 weeks after officially starting her new role, Stella had already become a key member of the financial team. She arrived every day at 8:00 the morning after waking up at 5 to prepare Emma's meals. "Good morning, Stella," employees would say as she walked through the halls. James had created a special position for her senior financial assistant, which allowed her to take part in important meetings without raising questions about her lack of a diploma. Only the two of them knew that secret. At her first meeting with investors, Stella impressed everyone with her accurate analysis and innovative suggestions. "Miss Carter, your projections are incredibly detailed," said Mr. Harris, one of the main investors. "Where did you study?" Stella felt her heart race, but calmly answered, "I learned through hands-on experience working with different companies." James quietly supported her. "Stella has a natural gift with numbers, something I rarely see, even in those with formal degrees." After the meeting, James and Stella walked together to the parking lot. "You were perfect in there," James said with admiration. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for saving my company." They looked at each other for a moment that lasted longer than usual. Stella felt butterflies in her stomach when she realized James was looking at her not as an employee or a cook, but as a woman. "Stella, Mommy, Daddy." Emma came running from the car, interrupting the moment. The nanny was right behind her. "Princess, what are you doing here?" James asked, picking her up. "The nanny brought me to see where you work." Stella smiled, but her heart skipped a beat when Emma naturally called her Mommy. James noticed too, and his eyes filled with emotion. In the following days, Stella and James grew closer. Long talks about work turned into personal conversations. Their looks during meetings lingered longer than necessary. Their hands would accidentally touch when handing papers. "You've completely changed my life," James said one night while they worked late. "What do you mean?" "Emma is happy, the company is doing great, and James posed. "I feel alive again." Stella felt her heart beat faster, but there was always a shadow between them, the secrets James was keeping about the past. Meanwhile, other employees were starting to feel resentful about Stella's rapid rise. Mark Santos, senior accountant for 15 years, and Laura Lima, administrative manager for 10 years, began meeting in secret. "How does a street cook suddenly land such a high-level position?" Mark muttered during a coffee break. "Something doesn't add up." Laura agreed. "She came out of nowhere. And now James treats her like some kind of financial genius. I'm sure there's something fishy going on," Mark said in a low voice. "I'm going to look into her past." "Be careful James doesn't find out," Laura warned. "He's clearly emotionally involved. He can't see she might be fooling all of us." Unaware of the scheming, Stella continued giving her all to the company and to Emma's care. But she started to notice something different at work. Cold stares, conversations that stopped when she walked by, being subtly left out of some groups. "You're imagining things," James said when she brought it up. "You're exceptional. It's natural that some people feel jealous." But Stella was sure Mark and Laura were plotting something against her. The question was, what were they planning? The campaign against Stella started subtly. Mark and Laura began spreading small, seemingly innocent comments around the company halls. "It's strange how Stella always knows exactly what to say in meetings," Laura murmured to other employees. "It's almost like she knows the questions ahead of time." "It's definitely suspicious," Mark agreed. A street food vendor suddenly becoming a corporate finance expert? Something doesn't add up. The rumors spread quickly. Employees started questioning Stella's qualifications, her rapid rise in the company, and how close she was to James. "I heard she doesn't even have a college degree," said the receptionist. "She's probably got something going on with the boss," another employee hinted. Stella started noticing suspicious looks and conversations that stopped when she walked by. But the worst was yet to come. Mark began spending late nights at the office, changing important documents. He purposely added mistakes to financial reports and left them on Stella's desk, making it look like she was the one responsible. The following Monday, during a board meeting, Mr. Thompson, the chairman of the board, pointed out serious problems with the numbers presented. "These figures are completely wrong," Thompson said, flipping through the reports. "How did this go unnoticed?" James looked at Stella, confused. "Stella, did you review these numbers?" "Yes. I checked them on Friday. Everything was correct when I finished," Stella answered, genuinely confused. "Well, they're not correct now," Thompson replied coldly. "These discrepancies could have cost the company millions." After the disastrous meeting, James called Stella into his office. "What happened in there?" "I don't know, James. I swear I reviewed everything carefully. There were no mistakes when I submitted the report." James wanted to believe her, but the board was under a lot of pressure. The following week, more errors showed up. This time, Mark was even more careful. He altered accounting records and planted evidence that made it look like Stella had tried to cover up major financial losses. "This looks like deliberate fraud," Laura said dramatically during an emergency meeting. "Someone is trying to sabotage our company." All eyes turned to Stella. She felt like the ground had dropped out from under her. "I would never do that," she said, her voice shaking. "Why would I sabotage the company I work for?" "Maybe to cover your own mistakes," Mark suggested. James stood up quickly. "That's enough. Stella saved this company. I won't accept these groundless accusations." "James, with all due respect, you may be too close to the situation to see things clearly," Thompson said. "Maybe your personal connection with Miss Carter is affecting your judgment." "What personal connection?" James asked. But everyone in the room knew about his growing closeness to Stella. After the meeting, James and Stella walked in silence to the parking lot. "Why do you defend me so much?" Stella asked suddenly. James stopped walking. "What do you mean? You're risking your reputation for me. Why?" James looked into her eyes deeply. "Because I trust you more than I probably should." Stella felt her heart race. There was so much emotion in his voice, so much vulnerability. "James, no." He shook his head. "I can't say what I'm thinking. Not now. Not like this." Meanwhile, Mark pushed further into his private investigation of Stella. He hired a private investigator to dig into her past. 3 days later, Mark received a report that made him smile maliciously. "Laura, you're not going to believe what I found," he said, showing her the documents. "What is it?" Stella Carter never graduated from anything. She dropped out of college in her last semester. No diploma, no certification, no qualifications at all. Laura's eyes widened. That means she's working illegally as an accountant, and James knew it the whole time. Stella, meanwhile, had started her own investigation. She came in earlier and stayed later, trying to figure out who was sabotaging her work. One night, while reviewing old files, she found some strange inconsistencies. Documents she was sure she had completed correctly now had obvious errors. Numbers she had double-checked were changed. "Someone's messing with my files," she murmured to herself. She began making copies of everything she worked on, keeping the original versions at home as evidence. She also noticed that Mark always showed up very early or stayed very late at the office, always with some excuse about extra work, and Laura kept asking odd questions about how Stella did her job. "They're working together against me," Stella realized. "But I need proof." At home, James was battling his own demons. He watched Stella playing with Emma after dinner, seeing how happy they were together, how they seemed like the perfect family. But the secrets from his past haunted him. "I need to tell her about Vanessa before it's too late and I lose Stella forever," he thought, alone in his office. "But what if she leaves me once she knows the truth?" James found himself staring at a hidden photo of Vanessa. His ex-wife was beautiful, elegant, seemingly perfect, but inside, she was cold, calculating, and selfish. Vanessa left me when Emma was little. She abandoned our daughter to run off with another man, he thought bitterly. How can I tell Stella that? How do I admit I was left, rejected, betrayed? The fear of losing Stella paralyzed him. She was everything he had ever dreamed of, caring, smart, a perfect mother for Emma, but all based on a huge lie. If she finds out I lied about everything, she'll hate me, James tortured himself. But if I don't tell her soon, someone else might. The next day, tension at the company reached its peak. Mark had prepared his final move to publicly expose that Stella wasn't qualified for the job she held. Stella arrived at work, feeling that something terrible was about to happen. James looked visibly nervous, avoiding direct eye contact. "We have an important meeting at 10 o'clock, he said formally. "What kind of meeting?" "The board wants to clarify some questions about documentation." Stella felt a chill. Her own private investigation had uncovered signs of sabotage, but she still didn't have solid proof about who was responsible. "James, I need to tell you something important. I found out." "After the meeting," he replied, but Stella saw panic in his eyes. At exactly 10 o'clock, everyone gathered in the conference room. The atmosphere was heavy with tension. Mark smiled confidently. Laura barely hid her excitement. Thompson opened the meeting. "We are here to discuss serious irregularities affecting this company's credibility." Stella felt her professional world beginning to crumble, but she didn't know James was about to lose much more than just an employee. He was about to lose the woman he loved. The conference room was full. Besides the board, there were 3 important investors James had invited to discuss new projects. Stella's stomach churned as she realized the meeting's importance. Thompson began formally. "Gentlemen, we called this meeting to clarify issues about the integrity of our internal processes." Mark stood up, holding a folder full of documents. "Mr. Thompson, with your permission, I would like to present alarming evidence I have found." "Go ahead," said Thompson. "I discovered our company has been hiring employees without the necessary qualifications for highly responsible positions." Mark looked directly at Stella. Specifically, Miss Stella Carter, who holds the position of Senior Financial Assistant, never graduated from any university. A shocked murmur spread through the room. The investors exchanged worried glances. "Continuing," Mark said dramatically. "She dropped out of her accounting course in the final semester and never obtained any professional certification. Technically, she is working illegally." Stella felt the world collapsing around her. Her worst fears were unfolding in public. Mr. Harris, one of the main investors, stood up indignantly. "How is it possible that our company, handling millions, has an unqualified person controlling our finances?" "I can explain." James stood up. "James, no," Stella whispered. But he ignored her. "I hired Stella knowing her academic situation," James said to the whole room. "She saved this company from bankruptcy with brilliant ideas no certified accountant ever came up with. That's unacceptable." Thompson exploded. "You put the entire company at legal risk." "Stella is more capable than any certified professional who's worked here," James defended. "The results speak for themselves." Laura spoke up. "But, James, she's also responsible for the serious errors found in recent reports. Errors that almost cost millions. Errors someone deliberately planted." Stella finally found the courage to say, "Are you accusing your colleagues of sabotage?" Thompson asked sternly. "I'm saying someone altered my documents after I finished them." Mark laughed sarcastically. "Of course, always blaming others for your own mistakes." "Mr. Harris turned to James. "Mr. Sterling, how can we trust a company that employs people illegally and then protects them when they make serious mistakes?" "Stella didn't make any mistakes," James insisted. "That doesn't matter anymore," Thompson said coldly. "The company's reputation is at risk. Both you and Miss Carter need to step away temporarily while we sort this out." "What do you mean, step away?" Stella asked. "Suspended with pay while we investigate all the reports you prepared," Thompson explained. "And, James, you will be temporarily replaced because you're involved in this situation." The investors began to stand. "We will reconsider our partnership until this is resolved," Harris said as he left the room. After everyone left, Stella and James were alone in the conference room. "Why did you do that?" Stella asked, tears in her eyes. Do what? Defend me in front of everyone. Now you're in trouble because of me. I don't care about that. I do care, Stella burst out. You lost your position at the company you built because of me. Stella, listen. No, this is all my fault. I should never have taken this job. Stella grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. Where to? Away. I'm going back to my old life and leaving you all alone. James followed her to the parking lot. You can't leave. I can. You and Emma will be better off without me. Emma loves you. She needs you. Emma will get used to it. Kids are strong. James held Stella's arm. And what about me? Have you thought about how I feel? Stella looked him in the eyes for the first time since the meeting. She saw desperation, fear, and total vulnerability. James, I love you, he said simply. I love you more than anyone I've ever loved. I can't lose you. Stella's heart broke. You're just confused because of all this. I'm not confused. I know exactly how I feel. Stella stepped back. I need time to think. She got in her car and drove home, leaving James alone in the parking lot. That night at home, Emma immediately noticed something was wrong. Why are you both sad? The little girl asked during dinner. Just work problems, sweetheart, James said, forcing a smile. Is Aunt Stella going to keep living with us? Stella avoided looking at Emma. Maybe it's better if I go back to my old home. No. Emma started to cry. You can't leave. You're my mom now. Emma, I'm not your mother. You are. You take care of me, make tasty food, and give me love. You're my mommy from my heart. Stella left the table to hide her tears. That night, Stella packed her bags. She was determined to leave the next morning and let the Sterlings live their lives. But at 3:00 the morning, she heard crying from Emma's room. She ran to see what was wrong. Bad dream, princess. I dreamed you left and never came back. Emma sobbed. Just like my real mom did. Stella held Emma tight. It was just a dream. Promise you won't leave. Stella couldn't answer. The next day, Emma refused breakfast completely. She also refused lunch. By afternoon, she was pale and weak, just like the first days they met. She stopped eating again, James said desperately to Stella. In just one day, she went back to how she was before. It's because of the stress, Stella explained. No, it's because you're leaving. She can feel it. James knelt in front of Stella. Please don't go. Emma needs you. I need you more than I can say. Stella looked at Emma, fragile, and sat on the couch. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. The next day, while Emma played in the garden, James decided it was time to tell the whole truth. Stella, I need to tell you something very important, he said seriously. About Emma's past, about her mother. Stella turned to him, finally ready to hear the truth. Emma's mother didn't give birth. Actually, Daddy, Aunt Stella. Emma ran into the room, crying. I had a terrible nightmare, even though I'm awake. James stopped in the middle of his confession. Emma ran into his arms, trembling with fear. What is it, princess? I dreamed a bad woman wanted to take me away from you. After calming Emma and putting her to bed, Stella and James sat in the living room with new determination. I can't run from these problems anymore, Stella said. I'll stay, and we'll fix this together. Are you sure? I am. Emma needs stability, and I won't let Mark and Laura destroy everything we've built. James moved closer on the couch. Thank you for staying. I don't know what I'd do without you. First, we need to clear our names, Stella said firmly. Do you really believe someone is sabotaging my work? I believe it completely. I know your skills. Those mistakes weren't accidents. Stella grabbed her laptop. Then let's prove it. I need to show the evidence I've collected. She opened files. She had secretly saved original versions of reports before they were changed. Comparisons between documents. Suspicious timestamps on file edits. Look at this, Stella said, pointing at the screen. I finished this report on Friday at 5 p.m. But the system shows it was modified Saturday at 2 a.m. James studied the data. Who has access to the files on weekends? Only senior staff with office keys. Mark, Laura, you, and me. Mark always shows up at the office at strange times, James remembered. He says he likes working when it's quiet. They spent the whole night going through files, looking for patterns in the changes. Stella made strong coffee to keep them awake. Here's another one, James said, pointing out discrepancies. All the changes happen after 6 p.m. or on weekends, and always on the documents I prepared, Stella added. Never on other employees' reports. Working side by side, sharing discoveries and theories, Stella and James felt closer than ever. The challenge was bringing them together deeply, Stella thought. James, she said during a break, even if we get through this, I want you to know I don't regret standing up for you. You risked your career for me. I'd risk much more than that. Their eyes met in a meaningful moment before they went back to work. The next day, they kept digging. James used his temporary authority to check the building's security logs. Look at this, he said, showing records on the screen. Mark entered the building Saturday at 1:47 a.m. Exactly 45 minutes before the system changes, Stella calculated, and Laura was here Sunday morning when no one else works. They were building a strong case but needed more proof. I need to get into Mark's computer, Stella said. That's risky. If he finds out, it's our only chance to prove everything. That afternoon, while Mark was in an outside meeting, Stella and James quietly went into his office. Stella plugged a flash drive into his computer. I'm copying all the modified files, Stella whispered. If we get the original versions he saved. Someone's coming, James warned, looking down the hallway. Stella finished the transfer quickly, and they left the office. That night, while going through the copied files, they made a shocking discovery. My God, James murmured. Look at these email conversations. Messages appeared on the screen between Mark, Laura, and someone identified only as EP. The plan is working. Sterling Enterprises will go bankrupt in 2 weeks. Perfect. When the company breaks, I'll buy it for a bargain, and we'll keep our jobs in the new management. Stella read with growing horror. They weren't just trying to hurt me. They wanted to destroy the whole company. And look who EP is, James said. Pointing to a more detailed email, Edward Pierce, Stella read. I don't know that name. I do. He's my biggest competitor. He's been trying to buy my company for years. The pieces of the puzzle came together. Mark and Laura weren't acting out of personal jealousy. They were hired to sabotage the company from inside, causing its bankruptcy so Pierce could buy it cheaply. They used my situation as the perfect scapegoat. Stella realized an employee without a degree would be blamed for all the problems. But thanks to your suspicions, we found the truth, James said, impressed. Working together late into the night, they organized all the evidence, damaging emails, access logs, document comparisons, modification histories. We have enough proof to take them down, Stella said, satisfied. And to save our company, James added. During those intense nights of investigation, Stella and James shared more than work. They shared fears, hopes, and dreams. They talked about their childhoods, ambitions, and regrets. I've never worked so well with anyone, James admitted. It's like we think alike. We make a good team, Stella agreed. In everything, James said with feeling. Work, family, life. Stella felt her heart race. Despite all the problems, she knew she was falling completely for James. James, I know, he gently interrupted. I feel the same way. They were about to kiss when they heard Emma calling for water. The moment broke, but both knew something important had changed between them. The next day, with all the evidence organized, they were ready to confront Mark and Laura. But first, they needed to present everything to the board of directors. I'm nervous, Stella admitted. No need to be. We have the truth on our side. But what if they don't believe us? James held her hand. They will believe, and even if they don't, we'll face it together. Stella smiled, feeling for the first time in weeks that things might actually work out. They had the proof, each other, and the determination to fight for the truth. On Monday morning, Stella and James entered the conference room, with a folder full of evidence. The board was already there, including Thompson and the investors who had threatened to pull out. "Gentlemen," James began with renewed confidence. "We called this meeting to present the truth about the company's recent problems." Thompson frowned. "James, you're still suspended. What we have to show will change everything," Stella interrupted, connecting her laptop to the projector. The first evidence appeared on the screen: emails between Mark, Laura, and Edward Pierce. "As you can see," Stella explained, "there was a systematic plan to sabotage our company." "Mr." Harris leaned forward, reading carefully. "Edward Pierce. Isn't he your biggest competitor, James?" "Exactly. He hired our own employees to destroy us from the inside." Stella went through all the evidence: carefully accessed logs, file changes, sabotage history, the full plan to cause bankruptcy. "My God," Thompson whispered. "Mark and Laura were trying to break the company and using Stella as a scapegoat," James added. "All the mistakes were planted on purpose." When they finished the presentation, the room was completely silent. Thompson stood up. "We need to confront Mark and Laura right away." 20 minutes later, Mark and Laura were called into the room. Seeing the evidence projected on the wall, both turned pale. "Can you explain these emails?" Thompson asked coldly. Mark tried to deny it. This must be fake." "The records are real," Harris said. "We have tech experts who confirmed it." Laura started to cry. We needed the money. Pierce offered so much." "You tried to destroy an entire company," Thompson exploded. "You betrayed co-workers, hurt investors, nearly caused hundreds of layoffs." "You're fired for cause," James declared, "and you will face criminal charges." Mark and Laura were escorted out by security. Thompson turned to Stella and James. "We offer our formal apologies, especially to Miss Carter, who was wrongly accused." "Thank you," Stella said with dignity. "Mr." Harris stepped forward. "Miss Carter, your skills are exceptional. We want to fund your return to university so you can finish your degree." Stella's eyes widened. "Really?" "Absolutely. You deserve official qualifications that match your talent, and we want you to stay with the company," Thompson added. "James, you're reinstated as CEO immediately." After the meeting, Stella and James walked to the parking lot in silence, taking in everything that had happened. "We did it," Stella said at last. "We did," James corrected, stopping and turning to her. Without warning, he kissed her deeply right there in the parking lot. Stella kissed him back, feeling butterflies in her stomach. "I love you," James whispered against her lips. "I love you too." Stella finally admitted what she had felt for weeks. That night, after Emma was asleep, Stella and James sat in the garden under the stars. "I can't believe everything is resolved," Stella said, resting her head on his shoulder. "You were amazing today. I've never seen anyone so brave." James kissed her again, this time more passionately. Stella's heart raced as he held her tighter. "Stella," James whispered, "I want you to know you are the most extraordinary woman I've ever met." "James, no. Let me finish. You changed my life completely, saved my company, cared for my daughter like she was your own, and made me believe in love again." They spent the night talking, kissing, and planning the future. For the first time, James openly shared his feelings, fears, and dreams for the three of them as a family. In the weeks that followed, their romance blossomed. James brought Stella flowers at work. They had romantic dinners after Emma was asleep and spent entire weekends together as the perfect family. "Aunt Stella," Emma said one morning over breakfast, "can I call you my heart, Mom?" Stella felt tears in her eyes. "Of course you can, Princess." "Mom of the heart," Emma repeated with a smile, "because you take care of my heart just like a real mom." James watched their interaction with deep emotion. Seeing Stella and Emma together made him dream of marriage, more children, a complete and lasting family. Secretly, James started planning a marriage proposal. He picked out a stunning diamond ring, planned a romantic proposal, and imagined Emma as the flower girl at their wedding. But the more he planned the future, the heavier the guilt about the past weighed on him. "How can I marry Stella while keeping such a big lie?" he thought, alone in his office. "She deserves to know the truth about Vanessa." The secret about Emma's mother was becoming harder to carry. James knew he needed to tell Stella about the abandonment, about how Vanessa left them for another man, about all the lies he had told to protect Emma. What if Stella leaves me when she finds out I was abandoned? He tortured himself. What if she thinks I'm weak because I was rejected? One night, while Emma played in the living room after dinner, James finally found the courage. "Stella, I need to tell you something very important about Emma's past." Stella stopped washing the dishes and turned to him. "What is it?" "About her mother. About what really happened." James took a deep breath, ready to confess everything. "The truth is, she didn't die in childbirth. Actually, Vanessa." The doorbell rang loudly, interrupting him. "Who could that be at this hour?" Stella asked, looking at the clock. It was almost 9 at night. James turned pale. Something about the doorbell's insistence gave him a terrible feeling. "Daddy, someone's at the door," Emma shouted from the living room. "I'll get it," James said, his voice tense. Stella followed him to the front door. James looked through the peephole, and his face went white as a sheet. "James, what is it? Who is it?" He slowly unlocked the door, as if opening the gate to hell. On the other side stood a stunning blonde woman, dressed in expensive clothes and shining jewelry. She smiled coldly as the door opened. "Hello, James," the woman said in a cold voice. "I missed you." Stella looked confused, glancing between James and the stranger. "James, who is this woman?" The blonde woman looked at Stella with clear contempt. "I'm Vanessa Sterling, his wife." Stella felt her world collapse. "Wife? But you said she was dead." James closed his eyes in total despair. His worst nightmare had come true. Vanessa had come back. "James, what is happening?" Stella shouted in absolute shock. "Who is this woman?" James looked like he had seen a ghost. His hands trembled as he held the door. "Stella, I can explain." "Explain what?" Stella looked between him and the blonde woman. "You said your wife was dead." Vanessa laughed coldly. "Dead?" James always had a wild imagination. "James, answer me now," Stella demanded. "Who is she?" James closed his eyes in despair. "Stella, this is Vanessa, my ex-wife." "Ex-wife? You said she died giving birth." "I lied," James admitted in a broken voice. Stella felt like she had been punched in the stomach. "You lied about everything?" Vanessa walked into the house without being invited, looking around at the luxury with calculating eyes. "I see you did very well, James. The house is even more beautiful." "What do you want here, Vanessa?" James asked, his voice tense. "I came for what's rightfully mine." "Daddy, who is this lady?" Emma appeared in the room, holding her teddy bear. Vanessa looked at Emma with a mix of interest and coldness. "My, how you've grown." Emma instinctively hid behind Stella. "Aunt Stella, who is she?" Vanessa approached Emma. "I'm your mother, dear." "No, you're not," Emma shouted. "My mom is Aunt Stella. Go away." "Emma, calm down," James said, picking her up. Stella was in total shock. "James, explain to me right now what's going on." James took a deep breath, knowing he couldn't run from the truth anymore. "Vanessa didn't giving birth. She abandoned us when Emma was 2. "Abandoned? How?" "She ran away with another man," James said, pain in his voice. "Left Emma and never looked back." Vanessa laughed without humor. "What a dramatic story, James. I just chose to live my life." Stella looked at Vanessa, horrified. "You abandoned your own daughter?" "I was too young to be a mother. I wanted freedom, adventure, to see the world." "With my money," James added bitterly. "And why are you back now?" Stella asked. Vanessa smiled coldly. "Because I found out James is very rich now, much richer than when I left." The truth hit Stella like a lightning bolt. "You came back for the money?" "I came to claim my share of the inheritance, and to get my daughter back, of course." "You're not my mother," Emma shouted, crying. "My mother is Aunt Stella. She really loves me." Vanessa looked at Emma with indifference. "You'll get used to me again." Stella felt anger explode inside her. "How can you be so cold to your own daughter?" "And you, who are you again?" Vanessa asked, looking at Stella with disdain. "The new babysitter?" "I am." Stella hesitated, realizing she didn't know how to define herself in that moment. "Stella is important to us," James said. "Oh, I see," Vanessa smiled cruelly. The new girlfriend. How romantic. James found a replacement for me. You betrayed me and abandoned me, James exploded. You have no right to come here and pretend to be upset. I have every right. I'm still legally your wife. Stella felt the world collapse again. You're still married? We never officially divorced, James admitted. You lied to me about everything, Stella shouted. How can I trust a single word that comes out of your mouth? Stella, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you're married? That your wife didn't die? That you made a fool out of me for months? Vanessa watched the argument with satisfaction. Looks like I caused some trouble in paradise. Stella grabbed her purse. I can't stay here anymore. Don't go, James begged. I need you. You needed to be honest with me. Emma started crying desperately. Aunt Stella, don't leave me alone with her. Stella's heart broke seeing Emma in panic, but she was too hurt to think clearly. I need time to process all of this, Stella said as she left the house. In the following days, Vanessa settled into the mansion as if she never left. She hired expensive lawyers and started a fierce legal battle. I want full custody of Emma and half of all the assets, she told her lawyers. James tried to fight back. She abandoned Emma. She has no rights. I'm the biological mother. That counts a lot in court. Meanwhile, Stella stayed at a cheap hotel, trying to process everything that had happened. She felt completely betrayed by James's lies. 3 days after Vanessa's arrival, Stella started feeling morning sickness. At first, she thought it was stress, but when the symptoms continued, she decided to take a pregnancy test. The result shocked her completely. Positive. Stella was pregnant with James's child. Sitting in the small hotel bathroom, looking at the test in her hands, Stella began to cry. How could she raise a child alone? How would she explain that the father was a married man who lied about everything? But at the same time, part of her filled with joy. She had always dreamed of being a mother. And now she was carrying the child of the man she loved. Despite all the complications. What am I going to do now? She thought, placing her hands on her still flat belly. Meanwhile, at the Sterling mansion, Emma completely refused any contact with Vanessa. The girl cried constantly, asking for Aunt Stella, and wouldn't eat anything Vanessa offered. Where is Aunt Stella? Emma asked every day. Forget that woman, Vanessa said coldly. I am your mother now. You're not my mother. My mother loves me. James watched his daughter suffering with a broken heart. He had lost Stella because of his lies, and now he saw Emma being tormented by the woman who abandoned her years ago. The following week, Vanessa's lawyers filed an official petition requesting custody of Emma and division of assets. The legal battle had officially begun, and Stella, pregnant and alone, had to decide whether to tell James about the baby or raise her child away from all the chaos. A week after discovering the pregnancy, Stella went for more detailed tests. Sitting nervously alone in the clinic's waiting room, she tried to imagine raising a baby without the father around. Stella Carter? The nurse called. After a detailed ultrasound, the doctor called her into his office with an expression mixing surprise and joy. Miss Carter, I have news that may be shocking. Dr. Lopez said. Is the baby okay? Stella asked, worried. The babies are perfect. Babies? Stella's eyes widened. What do you mean, babies? You're pregnant with triplets. 3 healthy babies. Stella felt the world spin. 1 baby would be hard enough, but 3? How could she raise 3 children alone? Triplets, she repeated in shock. Are you sure? Absolutely. Congratulations. It's rare. But all seemed to be developing perfectly. Stella left the clinic, completely stunned. Triplets. How would she tell James? Should she even tell him? Meanwhile, the court battle intensified. Vanessa had hired the best lawyers in town. My client is the biological mother, Vanessa's lawyer argued in court. She has legal rights to custody of her daughter. She abandoned the child for 3 years, James's lawyer replied. That counts as child abandonment. The judge listened carefully to both sides. The court will consider all factors, including the child's well-being. Vanessa looked confident, wearing expensive clothes and shiny jewelry to impress the court. Your Honor, I made mistakes in the past, but now I'm ready to be the mother Emma deserves." But James had hired a private detective to look into Vanessa's past. What he found was shocking. "Mr. Sterling," the detective said, handing over a long report, "Vanessa has a very dark history." "What do you mean?" "She had 2 previous relationships where she abandoned children, a 4-year-old in California and a 6-year-old in Texas. Both left only with their fathers." James was horrified. "She did that before? There's more. She committed financial scams on at least 3 wealthy men, always using charm and promises of love. There are arrest warrants in 2 states. My God. She didn't come back for Emma out of love. She came because she found out my company is now worth $50 million. At the next hearing, James's lawyer presented all the evidence: criminal records, abandonment history, proven financial fraud. "Your Honor," the lawyer said, "the petitioner shows a clear pattern of abandoning her children." The judge reviewed the documents with a stern look. "Miss Sterling, can you explain these records?" Vanessa tried to lie, but the evidence was undeniable. Her dark past was exposed for everyone to see. The most moving moment was when Emma, only 5 years old, was called to testify. "Emma, can you tell me who takes care of you?" The judge asked gently. "My daddy and my mommy, Stella," Emma answered clearly. "And this lady?" The judge pointed to Vanessa. "She's not my mother. She left when I was little and left me all alone." Emma began to cry. "I want to stay with my daddy and my mommy, Stella. She really loves me." Emma's brave testimony moved the whole courtroom. The judge's decision was final. Vanessa Sterling loses all parental rights over Emma due to proven abandonment and a criminal record. She must also pay $100,000 in damages for the emotional harm caused to the child. Vanessa left the court furious, but defeated. Her plans to take advantage of James's wealth had completely failed. That night, James went to see Stella at the hotel. He found her sitting on the bed, staring out the window. "Stella, please listen to me," he begged, kneeling on the floor. "I know I lied to you about everything. I know I broke your trust." James had tears in his eyes. "I lied because I thought if you knew I was abandoned, you'd leave me too. I couldn't bear to lose you." Stella looked at him, seeing real sincerity and desperation. "I lied out of fear, not cruelty. Vanessa destroyed me when she left, and I was terrified of going through that again." "James, I'm pregnant," Stella said suddenly. He stopped talking, taking in the news. "Pregnant? With triplets." James was silent for a long moment. Then a big smile spread across his face. "Triplets? Our children?" "Yes." James stood up and hugged her tightly. "Stella, this is wonderful. We're going to have a big, happy family. Aren't you upset I didn't tell you sooner?" "I'm too happy to be upset." A week later, James planned the most romantic proposal possible in the mansion's garden, with rose petals and lit candles. He knelt down with a dazzling diamond ring. "Stella Carter, you changed my life and brought happiness to my family. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Stella cried with joy. "Emma Ranin. Now Aunt Stella is really going to be my mommy." The wedding was a small, emotional ceremony, with Emma shining as the flower girl. Stella looked beautiful in her white dress, her baby bump already showing. The next months were pure happiness. Stella went back to college to finish her degree, supported by company investors. James cared for her during the difficult pregnancy with triplets. The babies were born healthy, 2 boys and a girl. Emma became the most loving big sister, helping Stella care for the little ones. "Now we're a big family," Emma said happily. Stella graduated with honors in accounting, returned to her job, and became one of the most respected executives in town. One night, Stella was in the kitchen making dinner for her big family. James came home from work and hugged her from behind, kissing her neck. Emma played with the 3 babies in the living room, all laughing and having fun. "Thank you," Stella whispered to James. "For what?" "For teaching me that true love can overcome any obstacle." They kissed as the delicious smell of dinner filled the house. Through the window, the golden sunset lit up the happiest family in the world.